Alright, so this is 2.5 part 2. We're just continuing to use the fundamental theorem of algebra. So if you remember from yesterday, this was the first slide that we went over yesterday. A polynomial of degree n has n number of solutions. So if we have x to the 6th power, that tells us we have 6 zeros. So we have 6 solutions. So the two complex zeros, 2i and negative 2i, are conjugates. That is, they are the forms a plus bi and a minus bi. Super important here that the complex zeros occur in conjugate pairs. So if we have a polynomial and we have one complex solution, its conjugate is also a zero of the function. So if this a plus bi is a zero, then a minus bi is also a zero. So if we have a complex solution, its conjugate is also a solution. So looking at our first example, we need to find the 4th degree polynomial functions with real coefficients that has -1, -1, and 3i as zeros. If we have 3i as a zero, we need its conjugate to also be a zero. So our 4th zero here is -3i. So we also have to include that -3i. So if we write this as linear factors, we would have x plus 1, x plus 1, x minus 3i, and x plus 3i. Remember, we changed the signs of our zeros. Now we need to multiply all of this out to get our polynomial. So in the end, we're going to get an x to the 4th polynomial. So the best way to do it is always multiply the complex number and its conjugate together first. So we have to FOIL here. So x squared minus 3i plus 3i minus 9i squared. So we can always FOIL this out, or we could see that we square our first term and square our second term, and that's our answer. So x squared minus 9i squared is the same thing. So if we want to take the shortcut, we can always square our first term, square our second term, instead of FOILing. We'd get the same answer. And then this I squared turns our 9 into a plus 9. So remember, I squared is -1. -1 times -9 becomes plus 9. Now we can take the first two factors here and FOIL them out. So we would have
Wait, Miss Carver isn't.
Okay. So now we're FOILing out the first two. So x squared plus x plus x plus 1. If we combine our like terms here, we have x squared plus 2x plus 1. And again here, we need to FOIL it out. But we have 3 terms in our first parentheses, so it wouldn't exactly be FOILing. We just need to make sure that every term in our first parentheses gets multiplied to every term in our second parentheses. So if we start with x squared in our first parentheses, we need to multiply that times x squared and times 9. So x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times 9 would be 9x squared. Now we can move on to 2x. So 2x times x squared would be 2x cubed. 2x times 9 is 18x. And then we move on to 1, and we have x squared plus 9. Now we combine our like terms. So we have x to the 4th. Our next term is x cubed, and we only have one of those, so 2x cubed. Now we have 2x squared, so we're adding 9x squared and x squared. So that would give us 10x squared. And then we only have one x, so that is 18x, and one constant, which is 9. So our 4th degree polynomial is x to the 4th plus 2x cubed plus 10x squared plus 18x is equal to plus 9, and then we have to say is equal to 0. So we always have to include this equal to 0 at the end. But this is our answer. All right, on the next slide, we have 4 more examples that are just like it. So looking at number 1, our zeros are -5, 0, and 2. So we would put this into our linear factors. So we have x plus 5, x minus 2, and then the 0 would just be x is equal to 0. So I'm just going to throw the x out in front. So the x out front I'm going to worry about at the end, and I'm going to FOIL these two first. So we have x squared minus 2x plus 5x minus 10. And this is all times the x out front. I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have x squared plus 3x minus 10. And then I just need to distribute the x out front to everything in the parentheses. So this becomes x cubed plus 3x squared minus 10x. And then we need to make sure we put equal to 0. So we started with 3 zeros. So we know our answer has to start with an x cubed. So we started with an x cubed, so all is good.
We don't put the x back in there?
Which x?
Like the one that was like taken out?
This one?
Mm-hmm.
We multiplied it back in, so we distributed it to everything in here. That's how we got the x cubed, because x squared times x would be 3x. All right, number 2. What would our linear factors be?
X plus 5,
And?
and then x minus over 3.
Perfect. And just like the last one, we FOIL it out. So we have x squared minus 3 square root 3x plus 5x, and then minus 5 square root 3. For this one, we can't combine our like terms because we have a square root and a whole number, so this would be our answer. We have to make sure we put it equal to 0. All right, number 3. So we have x is equal to -1 and 2i. Do we have any other zeros that we need to include here?
Miss Carver, can you go back to the second one for a second?
That would still be fine. So if you had x squared plus 5x minus square root 3, x.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Okay, going to 3 now. Are we missing any zeros here? Can we include any other zeros?
-2i.
Awesome. If we have a complex number, we need to include the conjugate. So since we have a positive 2i, we need to include the negative 2i. So now what would our linear factors be?
X plus 1. And then x minus 2i. And then x plus 2i.
Perfect. So now anytime we have complex numbers, we should FOIL them out. When they're conjugates of each other, we can just square the first term and square the second term. So this is our shortcut. So we have x squared minus 4i squared. So when they are conjugates, we just square the first term and square the second. If we FOILed it out, we would get the same answer, but we're just doing the shortcut. This x squared minus 4i squared, we can change to x squared plus 4. So the I squared becomes a negative 1. So we change our negative to a positive. And then we need to multiply it by x plus 1. So we need to make sure every term in the first parentheses gets multiplied to every term in the second, so we FOIL it out. So our first terms, x times x squared would be x cubed. X times 4 is 4x. X squared times 1 would be x squared. And then 4 times 1 is 4. And then we just have to make sure that it's in order. So we have x cubed plus x squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to 0. All right. Number 4. Are we missing any zeros here?
Yeah, 2, right?
Yeah, so what are they?
Negative 3i. And then 2 minus I.
Perfect. So negative 3i and 2 minus I. So we just have the conjugates of both of these. So when I write my linear factors, I'm going to make sure the conjugates are next to each other. So I multiply those two together first. So I have x minus 3i, x plus 3i. So that's these two. I'm going to do x plus 4 next, and then x. This is minus 2 plus I. And then we have x minus 2 minus I. So super important. This term here is positive. So when we put it into our linear factors, we need to make sure that that minus is in there. And then same for its conjugate, we have x minus the conjugate. So I'm going to multiply these two first. Since they're conjugates, I'm just going to square the first and square the second. So I have x squared minus 9i squared, which then becomes x squared plus 9. I'm going to rewrite the x plus 4 next to it, because I'm going to multiply those two together. But first I want to multiply these two conjugates together. The first thing I'm going to do here is distribute the negative in both of these parentheses. So this now becomes x minus 2 minus I and x minus 2 plus I. So these two parentheses are conjugates of each other. This is our first term, this x minus 2. and then the I is our second term. So when I do the shortcut here, I'm going to square x minus 2, and then square the I. So I squared our first term and squared the second term. However, our first term's x minus 2, so in order to square it, what do I need to do? Foil. So this is x minus 2 times x minus 2. When we FOIL it, we get x squared minus 2x minus 2x plus 4. And then this minus I squared becomes plus 1. And now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have x squared minus 4x plus 5. So this is just the FOILed out part of here, but I still need to multiply it to our first two terms here. So this is multiplying by x plus 4 and x squared plus 9. So I'm going to FOIL these two out now. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay. So we have x cubed plus 4x squared plus 9x plus 36. We don't have any like terms here, so we can't simplify it anymore, so I'm just going to rewrite it. So it's next to the other one. Now we need to multiply the two of these out together. So I'm going to start with our x cubed. Every term in our first parentheses has to be multiplied to everything in our second parentheses. So x cubed times x squared is x to the 5th. X cubed times negative 4x is negative 4x to the 4th. X cubed times 5 is plus 5x cubed. Now I'm going to move on to 4x squared. So 4x squared times x squared is 4x to the 4th. 4x squared times negative 4x is negative 16x to the 3rd. And 4x squared times 5 is 20x squared. Now moving on to the 9x. 9x times x squared is 9x cubed. 9x times negative 4x is negative 36x squared. And 9x times 5 is plus 45x. And then last thing is this 36. So 36 times x squared is 36x squared. 36 times negative 4x would be 144. Negative 144.
Yeah.
X. And then 36 times 5 would be 180.
180.
So positive 180. So now we have all these terms and we need to combine the like terms. So we only have one x to the 5th power. So we took care of that. Now we're going to combine all of our x to the 4th power. So we have a negative x to the 4th, a positive x to the 4th, and that's it. So they end up canceling each other out. Now we're going to look at our x cubes. So we have 5x cubed, negative 16x cubed, and 9x cubed. So this would be negative 2x cubed.
Yeah.
So we can cross those out. Next we have 20x squared minus 36x squared and plus 36x squared. So the 36x squareds cancel each other out, and we just have plus 20x squared. Now we move on to our x's. So 45x minus 144x would be negative 99x. And then plus our constant, which is 180. Gotta set it equal to 0, can't forget about that, and this is our answer. So here it gives us our polynomial, and we need to find all of the zeros of it. So we're given 1 0, and we need to find the rest. So the steps we need to follow: first, we need to find the conjugate. Step number 2 is FOIL the roots. And step number 3 is to divide the original by the new polynomial. So these are 3 steps that we follow here. So first we need to find the conjugate. What is the conjugate of 1 plus 3i?
1 minus 3i.
1 minus 3i. So if we put this into our linear factors, we have x minus 1 plus 3i times x minus 1 minus 3i. Next, we need to FOIL these out. So just like we did in the last one, we need to make sure we distribute the negative here and the negative here. So this is x minus 1 minus 3i, and this one is x minus 1 plus 3i. So now we have 2 conjugates. Our first term is this x plus 1, and our second term is 3i. So we are going to square the first one and square the second. So we have x minus 1 squared minus 3i squared. To square our first term, we need a FOIL. So we have x squared minus 2x plus 1. And then this would become negative 9i squared. The 9i changes it, the I squared changes it to plus 9. And we combine our like terms, so we get x squared minus 2x plus 10. So this is our new polynomial. And our third step is to divide the original by the new. So our original is x to the 4th minus 3x cubed plus 6x squared plus 2x minus 60. And we are dividing this by our new one, which is x squared minus 2x plus 10. So here we need to do some long division. So what times x squared gives us x to the 4th power?
X squared.
X squared. So when we're writing x squared, we need to make sure it goes above our x squared here. So we just got to keep our terms in line. So now we take this x squared and multiply it by all 3 of our terms out front. So we have x to the 4th minus 2x to the 3rd plus 10x squared. So I just multiplied with what's on top with what's out front. Now just like how we did before, we change all of our signs, so this becomes a negative, a positive, and a negative. And we combine the 2. So our x to the 4ths cancel out. Negative 3x cubed plus 2x cubed would be negative x cubed. And 6x squared minus 10x squared would be negative 4x squared. Now what times x squared gives us negative x cubed?
X.
Negative x. So we multiply this negative x times everything out front. So we have negative x cubed plus 2x squared minus 10x. We need to change all of our signs. So plus, minus, plus, and combine our terms. So we have negative x cubed plus x cubed cancel out. Negative 4x squared minus 2x squared becomes negative 6x squared. 2x plus 10x is plus 12x. We can drop down this 60 here. Now what times x squared gives us negative 6x squared?
Negative 6.
Negative 6. So now we multiply negative 6 times everything out front. So we get negative 6x squared plus 12x minus 60. We need to change all of our signs. This becomes plus, minus, and plus. And then combine our terms. So this is 0, 0, 0. So once we divide, we are left with x squared minus x minus 6. So we need to find the zeros of this. How do we find the zeros here?
Wait, we can do x minus 2 and 3, right?
Yeah, we need to find the factors of negative 6 that add up to negative 1. So this would be negative 3 and 2.
Yeah.
So we put them into our parentheses. We have x minus 3, x plus 2. Set each of them equal to 0. So x is equal to 3 and x is equal to negative 2. Now listing all of our zeros, we just have x is equal to 3, negative 2, 1 plus 3i, and 1 minus 3i.
Oh God.
That's it. So if we start with x to the 4th, we need 4 zeros. We found 4 zeros, so we know we did it right. Here. So given negative 2 and negative 5i is one of our zeros, what would another zero be?
Positive 5i.
So negative 2 plus 5i.
Yeah.
So now we need to FOIL the 2 out. So this would be x minus negative 2 minus 5i times x minus negative 2 plus 5i. I'm going to distribute the negative. So x plus 2 plus 5i. And distribute the negative again. So x plus 2 minus 5i. So we have conjugates here. Our first term is this x plus 2, and our second term is the 5i. So we're going to square the first one, x plus 2 squared, minus 5i squared. We need to FOIL x plus 2 out, so we get x squared plus 4x plus 4. 5i squared would be 25i squared. So this is 25i squared. The I squared changes this to a plus. Now we just combine our like terms. So we have x squared plus 4x plus 29. What do we do next? Step 3.
You divide original by the new numbers.
We divide the original by the new numbers. So we have x cubed plus 11x squared plus 57x plus 203. So what times x squared gives us x cubed? X. So we're going to put our x on top of the other x. Now we multiply what's on top with everything out front. So x cubed plus 4x squared plus 29x. Need to change the sign of everything. So we make them all negative. X cubes cancel out. 11x squared minus 4x squared is 7x squared. 57x minus 29 is 28. Yeah. So plus 28x. We can bring down this 203. So what times x squared gives us 7x squared? 7. So this is plus 7. Multiply the 7 with everything out front. So 7x squared plus 28x plus 203. Change the sign of everything. So we cancel, cancel, cancel. And we're left with 0. So now x plus 7 is one of our factors. X plus 7 is equal to 0, so x is equal to negative 7. So our three factors here are negative 7, negative 2 minus 5i, and negative 2 plus 5i. So this one is a little bit shorter. Any questions?